Hi, we've chosen to do Foxconn Technology Group for our presentation, and here's an inside look at the company.
Broken glass police cars. This is the dark side of tech assembly plants in China. Angry employees at a facility run by Taiwan's Foxconn exploding under the cover of night. In shops, the new iPhone in hot demand, a glossy product converting consumers around the globe. But the work in factories that put smartphones together can be monotonous and grueling. Apple supplier Foxconn has experienced labor troubles before. A raft of suicides at one plant have been a PR nightmare. Its factories across China are so huge, with as many as 80,000 people working, it's hard to identify the overall cause of disputes. Martin Hennecke of Taish Group.
Given the number of people they employ, of the migrant workers, I would say some things are bound to happen. You just need to look at, these outlets, some of them are of the same size as cities in the Western world.
Foxconn is the world's largest manufacturer and supplier of electronics, supplying to companies such as Apple, Samsung, and Microsoft. The results of audits that took place in 2010 were less than satisfactory, finding out that workers are working 60-plus hour weeks and are not getting properly compensated for overtime, barely making a living, and can't support their families. There are interns as young as 14 years old working at the plants when the legal working age is 16, and there have been 17 recorded suicides at the company during 2010. And all Foxconn did in response to this is install safety nets around the buildings and make workers sign a contract stating that their families will not get compensated if they are to commit suicide. These problems have stemmed from low wages, excess overtime, and harsh management.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the corporate culture at Foxconn. So to begin with, at Foxconn, there are hardly any HR practices at all. The culture is very strong, but it's a bad culture. They use reinforcement strategies such as punishment when the staff do wrong. Every morning, the staff is expected to answer the question, "Good morning, how are you?" by repeating, "Good, sir, I'm good." This must be heard by the whole assembly line, and before answering the question, they also need to shout out, "Can you hear me?" at the back of the road. If you do something wrong at Foxconn, at the assembly line, they also keep at least 100 persons after the job just to listen to you reading a statement of self-criticism.
So now I'll cover the compensation system. Foxconn has a poor compensation system. Here we will see what Foxconn offers and compare it with local laws. As you can see, Foxconn does meet the minimum wage requirements. However, the wages are not enough to cover the minimum standard living costs. Working hours are also higher than what is legally allowed, and employees do this in order to compensate for the low wage. Furthermore, some overtime hours are not accounted for and therefore not paid for. They also offer some premiums or incentives they are deducted from, sometimes with reason and sometimes without. As for benefits, Foxconn offers little medical insurance, if any, is offered, and this is not cringed upon. They also subsidize accommodations for long-term employees, but these accommodations are so isolated and cold that they cause psychological insecurity. So what's the problem here? There's no motivation to work there, intrinsically or extrinsically. Intrinsically, in that there's no autonomy or self-development from the job. Extrinsically, in that the employees do not gain much from the job. From an expectancy theory viewpoint, employees can perform as high as they want, but will only gain a low outcome, and that's only in the form of wages. And from an equity viewpoint, there's external inequity in that what Foxconn offers lags in the market. They don't offer as much as what other companies can offer. Some recommendations to improve is to increase wages so that they meet the minimum living costs and decrease working hours so that they comply with the law. This would be enough to attract and retain workers who work only to make a living. In addition, offering health and medical coverage is important, as employees working at a manufacturing company are more susceptible to health risks and will be more likely to work somewhere where they are covered. The accommodations offered should also be made more welcoming and warm to maintain employee motivation. Once these basic conditions are met, they can then consider increasing their compensation package.
So to wrap this up, we have a couple of recommendations for Foxconn. First of all, we would recommend Foxconn to make the workplace safer and train the employees so that they don't get hurt while they are working. Compensation and working hours are today lower than the basis standard of living, and we would recommend Foxconn to at least pay the worker the amount of money that they need to be able to pay for daily food and shelter. Another recommendation that we have is that we believe that a change of the CEO will have a good impact of the culture. The new CEO should work as a changing agent and set new goals and visions. As for the employees, we would recommend them to start unions to make their situation better. We would also like to point out that companies such as Apple and Samsung, who get their products manufactured at Foxconn, should take the responsibility and demand higher standards for the employees at Foxconn.
Thank you for listening, and we hope that you enjoyed our presentation.